Australia holds roughly 28 days of onshore fuel. That's not a worst-case projection. That's the baseline. Right now, today, that's what sits between normal life and rationing. Now consider one Commonwealth law most people have never read. A law that lets the federal government take fuel you've already bought, already stored, already paid for. This deep dive covers 50 years of Australian fuel disruptions, state dangerous goods codes, and the specific legislation that makes your private stockpile a public resource the moment an emergency is declared. 10 countermeasures that harden your fuel position against both supply collapse and legal seizure. Gear you can buy this weekend. Most people will watch this and do nothing. A smaller number will act before the next shortage headlines hit. First countermeasure. Know your state dangerous goods threshold. Every state and territory sets a legal ceiling for how much fuel you can store on residential property without a license. In most jurisdictions, that number sits around 250 litres. That's your invisible line. Cross it and you're on a register. Stay under it and you're a compliant citizen with a reasonable reserve. The conventional error is guessing. People fill a few jerry cans, stack them in the shed, and assume they're fine. They've never checked the actual code. Your countermeasure is simple. Confirm your specific state regulation. Store right at the limit, not over it. Document your compliance. Keep receipts, keep dates, keep a photo log if you want. You're not hiding anything. You're proving you've got nothing to hide. Legal storage is invisible storage. A second countermeasure, the half-tank habit. This costs you nothing, $0, zero extra time. A standard sedan running on half a tank carries 300 to 400 kilometers of range. That's evacuation distance. That's resupply distance. That's the difference between leaving and being stuck. The conventional error is filling up when the fuel light comes on. You've seen it. Everyone's done it. You coast into the servo on fumes and hope the Bowser's working. Your countermeasure is refueling at the halfway mark. Every time. No exceptions. It becomes automatic within 2 weeks. You're never below 50%. You're never desperate. You're never in a queue with everyone else who waited too long. Discipline is a fuel reserve. Third countermeasure, fuel stabiliser. An untreated petrol starts oxidizing and absorbing moisture within 3 to 6 months. It goes stale. Gums up injectors. Corrodes tank linings. You think you've got a reserve, but you've actually got a liability sitting in your shed. A bottle of Star Bill or Nulon fuel conditioner runs roughly $15 to $20 from Supercheap Auto. That single bottle treats hundreds of litres. Your countermeasure is treating every litre on the day you fill. Not next week. Not when you remember. The day you fill. Then you rotate on a 6-month calendar. Use the oldest fuel first, replace it, treat it again. Dead fuel is worse than no fuel. Fourth countermeasure. This is the one most people will never see coming. The Liquid Fuel Emergency Act, 1984. Commonwealth legislation. Still on the books. Still enforceable. Here's what it does. Well, under this act, the federal government can direct fuel allocation across the entire supply chain. It can commandeer private fuel supplies. It can control distribution channels, set priorities, and dictate who gets what. The trigger is a declared national liquid fuel emergency, and the threshold for declaration is lower than you'd think. A major refinery disruption, a prolonged shipping blockage, a cascading supply failure across multiple states. Any of these could meet the criteria. The conventional assumption is that what you buy is yours. You paid for it. It's in your shed. It's your property. The reality is that in a declared emergency, your drums become a national resource. The government doesn't need your permission. They need a declaration. Your countermeasure is layered. First, or understand what triggers a declaration so you can see it coming. Second, maintain low-profile storage. No social media posts about your fuel stash. No bragging to neighbours. No visible drum farms from the street. Third, keep quantities within your state's dangerous goods threshold so you sit below institutional attention. You're not a target. You're not a stockpiler. You're a compliant household with a legal amount of fuel. This reframes everything you've already heard. The half-tank habit isn't just a buffer. It's the only stockpile that can't be requisitioned because it's in your vehicle's factory tank. Your stabilised drums aren't just reserves. They're assets that need to stay invisible. The law you never read is the one that empties your shed. Fifth countermeasure, a hand crank or gravity-fed siphon kit. You're around $25 to $40 at Bunnings. Electric pumps die with the grid. During prolonged outages, and every major cyclone and bushfire event proves this, mains power disappears for days or weeks. Your countermeasure is a manual siphon that transfers fuel between vehicles or from drums with zero electricity. No moving parts that need a charge. No dependency on infrastructure. You pull it off the shelf, connect it, and pump. No power, no pump, no problem. Sixth countermeasure. Pay attention to this one. Independent rural servo mapping. This is the framework that changes how you think about fuel access entirely. During the 2021 AdBlue crisis, metro chains ran dry within days. Brand name servos on major highways emptied first because they sat on identical supply contracts. But independent country servos, the ones on secondary tanker routes with separate wholesale agreements, retained fuel days after the chains went dark. The same pattern repeated after cyclone disruptions in Queensland. Your countermeasure is building a physical list of every independent servo within 200 kilometres of your home. Name, location, distance, route to get there. You're mapping your own resupply network, not relying on the same Shell or BP that 10,000 other people are queuing at. You want the servo nobody queues at, because that's the one still pumping. Seventh countermeasure. A diesel platform vehicle or generator. Diesel stores longer than petrol. It runs heating and cooking applications through generators. It tolerates alternative fuel blends more readily. The conventional era is an all-petrol household. Everything runs on the same fuel type. And when that fuel type disappears, everything stops simultaneously. Your countermeasure is acquiring at least one diesel-compatible engine, a vehicle, a generator, or both. You're diversifying your fuel dependency. You're creating a resilience backbone that outlasts petrol supplies and gives you options when unleaded vanishes from the Bowsers. Diesel is the prepper's base layer. Eighth countermeasure. This is going to sound like a joke. It's not. Bicycle inner tubes and a pump from Kmart, about $10. During the 1979 oil crisis, bicycles became the dominant short-range transport within days of rationing announcements. Not weeks, days. A functional bike gives you roughly 30 kilometers of daily range at zero fuel cost. Your countermeasure is owning a working bicycle with spare tubes and a hand pump. You're not replacing your vehicle. You're creating a parallel transport layer that operates completely outside the fuel economy. When every litre matters, you don't burn one on a 5-kilometre pharmacy run, 30 kilometres on breakfast alone. Ninth countermeasure. The barter jerry can. One 20-litre jerry can earmarked exclusively for community leverage. You never touch it for personal use. Ever. From Cyclone Tracy in 1974 through to recent Queensland flooding, people with spare fuel became immediate social assets. They got access to generators, got labour, got information, got protection. Fuel became currency faster than anyone predicted. The conventional era is hoarding everything, locking it all down and trusting nobody. Your countermeasure is designating one can as social capital. It buys you goodwill, reciprocity, and standing in exactly the conditions where those things keep you alive. Generosity is a survival strategy. 10th countermeasure, a paper roadmap, a UBD street directory or state road atlas, about $6 from any newsagent. During the 2019 to 2020 Black Summer bushfires, Regional mobile towers failed within 48 hours once their backup generator fuel was exhausted. GPS died with the towers. Entire corridors went dark. Thousands of people had no navigation beyond what they could see through the windscreen. Your countermeasure is caching a current paper map for your state. It routes you when both fuel and telecommunications collapse simultaneously. It doesn't need a signal. It doesn't need a charge. It doesn't need a tower. Paper doesn't need a signal. Here's what you've just built. A fuel position that operates on 3 layers. Legal compliance that keeps you invisible. Physical reserves that stay viable through stabilisation and rotation. And geographic intelligence that gives you access points nobody else has mapped. Store, stabilise, silence. That's the protocol. Not one of these countermeasures requires specialist knowledge. Not one requires a license. Every item is available this weekend from retailers you already know. The people who act on this will never make the news. They'll never post about it. They'll never tell anyone what's in the shed or which servos are on their list. They'll just be ready. And when the next disruption hits, and it will hit, they'll drive past the queue, check the map, and keep moving. How many days of fuel do you have right now? Honestly.